Hello and welcome to TTG's webinar with South African Tourism. I am Maddie Barber, the Special Projects Editor at TTG Media, and I'm joined today by Rachel Lewis, who is Campaign and Partnerships Manager for South African Tourism. So thank you so much for joining me, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. During this webinar, we're going to be talking about all things South Africa, including the logistics of visiting as a UK-Irish tourist, how to reassure your customers that South Africa is a safe destination to visit during the pandemic, and we'll be covering destination highlights such as must-do activities, new tourism product and responsible tourism options, as well as how to overcome the biggest challenges of selling the destination. And then towards the end of the webinar, we're going to talk about exciting fam trip opportunities, competitions and additional agent support that's available to you right now. So Rachel, just a few questions to set the scene.
Go for it.
Can UK and Irish travellers currently visit South Africa with ease, and what are the entry requirements? Can you just talk us through that, please?
Yeah, so South Africa initially at the beginning of the pandemic closed their borders. So they closed the border until October 2020, and then they put the UK on a red list. They actually had us on a red list before UK invented their own. And when they lifted that restriction last year in December, all that was required was a PCR test taken 72 hours prior to travel. And that is the case for any passengers entering into South Africa. So it's actually been wide open for UK and Irish travellers for the last 12 months. It was just that we were waiting on the UK to lift their restrictions. And now that those have been done, we're all good. So yeah, that was a very exciting time for us back in October.
Yeah, good to go. Okay, so which airlines are currently offering flights to South Africa from the UK and Ireland, and how frequent are they?
So when we were taken off the red list, there was an immediate kind of cautious offering. Both British Airways and Virgin started talking about upping their flights in December down to South Africa. That soon came forward. So Johannesburg, you can fly daily with both Virgin and British Airways. And then with British Airways, you can fly double daily to Cape Town and 3 times a week with Virgin, which is a brand new flight. They were going to launch this in December 2020. We'd announced it in February 2020. We were so excited. Like, Virgin have not been back to Cape Town for years. So when they announced that pre-pandemic, it was all exciting. And we are so grateful to them that they've carried on. They're going to support us moving forward and putting their flight into Cape Town 3 times a week on a Dreamliner. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you've got all your other options. So KLM and Air France both do flights down to South Africa from Charles de Gaulle and Schiphol. You've also got Lufthansa. All of these started increasing their flights as these countries started relaxing their rules for South Africa travel. So from September onwards, you saw those ones increasing. The ones that haven't really ever changed have been Emirates and Qatar, who are flying down to Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban. So you've got quite a few options in terms of getting your clients there. It's not only just the direct options. Obviously, during a pandemic, a lot of people are looking more direct, but do look at the indirect carriers as well, because the cost effectiveness is pretty decent.
Okay, great, thanks. And in your opinion, what can agents say to their customers to really reassure them that they can visit South Africa with confidence in 2022?
In terms of the pandemic, you've got we've come out of our third wave. So obviously, we all know that globally things have been quite unpredictable. But what we can say is that South Africa is, like, in terms of social distancing, there's never been a better place to be, and it's been ingrained in us since last year that meeting people outside and being outside is a lot safer than being inside and mingling indoors. You don't spend any time indoors in South Africa. You are outside. Cape Town is one of the most outdoor cities I know. Like, your restaurants you sit outside your restaurants, you go to the V&A waterfront, you're going up Table Mountain on the beaches. And as soon as you're outside of the cities, you're in wide open spaces. I mean, my colleague always refers to safari being the initial social distancing holiday. You're in the middle of nowhere. The protocols are quite strict, so people are still wearing masks. hand sanitizing, all of the stuff that you would be doing here, except the masks, are in place in South Africa. It is a safe place to go. Vaccination rates are increasing, especially in the tourism sector. So it's not just a case of, when you look at a population as a whole, you kind of think, oh, it's not quite as high as the UK, but the vaccination rates within the industry itself are really high. So you could have that confidence that where you are going to be staying, you are surrounded by vaccinated people. So I think in terms of traveling during the pandemic, like, these things are always going to be a risk, but there is no more risk going to South Africa than there would be going anywhere else in the world. And we know that people are traveling elsewhere as well. And the figures that we've kind of seen booking and being reported back to us show that there is a confidence in the destination already. So that should give reassurance to anyone already kind of feeling a bit like, wanting that extra additional reassurance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So before we move on to talking about destination highlights, I want to take a look at a quick 60-second video that's going to really bring South Africa to life. So let's take a look.
We want this country to be open to anyone.
Good evening, welcome.
What I love the most about being a guide, I get to share about the beauty of my country.
I always wanted to be a storyteller. I always wanted to talk about my community to the world.
Being South Africa to me means pride.
Religion, culture, and everything, we are very rich.
For me, paradise isn't overseas, it's over here.
Incredible panoramic vistas, deep valleys of indigenous forests.
First time I came here, it just blew my mind.
I don't think that anybody should be thinking about coming. It's a question of, decide when.
Meet my South Africa.
Fantastic. So we've seen a few of the must-do activities and must-see attractions in that video that we've just watched. But Rachel, are you able to elaborate on that and in particular talk about the best activities and attractions for first-time visitors to South Africa?
Yeah, one of the things that video really highlights is our main attraction, which is our people. And you saw it like a series of tour guides that were in that video that we really promote and really encourage people to take a local guide no matter where you are in the country. So it's everything from just going around the winelands. Obviously you want someone else driving, but also when you're in like places like KwaZulu-Natal, you're only really going to get the proper insight into the battlefields, but also Zulu culture. If you're with someone local, it's easy to miss quite a lot. But obviously, in terms of must-see activities, Cape Town, the winelands, the garden route, any safari, outdoor space, adventure. I mean, the adventure activities are endless within South Africa, not just, even in Cape Town, you can abseil off Table Mountain, you can scooter down Signal Hill. You can do cooking classes in Bo-Kaap. You can do driving, and self-driving is really one of the other things that we encourage quite a lot. So people who are wanting to drive, you can stop off, take a local guide no matter where you stop, and go and see and get more in depth. The garden route is a really classic one for South Africa, and it'd be one that everyone's quite familiar with. We would always recommend longer than most itineraries allocate to it. So by about a week on the garden route, we would say would be enough. 5 days in Cape Town, a couple in the winelands, a week on the garden route, and a few nights in safari is kind of the perfect first time South African itinerary. I mean, and on top of the people and the culture and the other activities I've spoken about, you just got to go and eat the food. I'm missing it already. I lost weight during lockdown, so I wasn't traveling to South Africa and eating myself silly. So yeah, I am very excited to get back down there and kind of get all the culinary delights as well.
Amazing. And what about for returning visitors? What's typical second or even third timer itinerary?
The second or third time itinerary. Getting out into KZN is usually a second time one. So flying into Durban, going up into Drakensberg, going to the battlefields, going into and the wetlands, and maybe doing a safari element down there. One of the things about going into KZN is you can do a full loop. Once you're comfortable with driving, you've done it your first time, you've got a bit more adventurous, you know exactly what South Africa is about. Going into KZN, driving up through the Midlands, up through the Drakensberg, round to the battlefield, round to the safari, and back down to the city is an ideal kind of one, fly in, no more internal flights, no massive drives, and fly out again. And Johannesburg is generally a second timer. People, again, will go to Cape Town. They will want to go back to Cape Town. It's not a city you visit once and feel like you've ticked it off. But going to Johannesburg is actually something that people go, oh, well, I learned, maybe I went to Robben Island, and maybe now I want to go and see a bit more about, the Soweto and the Apartheid Museum and Constitution Hill, as well as the kind of vibrancy. Cape Town is quite a European city in its offering. Johannesburg, so South African. It's a melting pot of the entire continent. So it is a really must do. People will go on safari in different areas of the country. So they'll go up to Kruger, whereas they might have gone to the Eastern Cape. They'll go up to the Kruger, do the Panorama Route Drive, and then also up to maybe Madikwe in the northwest. So yeah, it's first timers will always go to Cape Town, and I think second timers and third timers will generally go to Cape Town as well and just do different things. It's what they do after that is so varied.
Okay, great, thank you. And now I know that I'm really glad that sustainable travel is a hot topic of conversation right now, so I just wanted to throw in a question about that. What activities or initiatives can visitors get involved with that really support responsible tourism, that's both for communities as well as the environment?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's three different conservation and community are the two things that will generally be the most sustainable things that you can do while traveling. And it's not just about, and I don't know how to put this properly. It's not like just going and seeing a project or kind of ticking it off for one day. Every single thing that you do on your holiday can benefit local communities. It can benefit the environment. And everything, there's a lot of talk at the moment about long haul travel and is that sustainable? Yes, long haul travel is sustainable, because without tourism, the African penguin probably wouldn't be here anymore. You wouldn't have the knowledge that we do on sharks from the guys at Dyer Island Conservation Trust. You wouldn't have rhino initiatives. Rhinos are worth more. The reason why rhinos are worth so much, because people shooting them with their cameras is actually more valuable to the local communities and spreading that wealth than it is in any other way. And the same with sharks. Sharks are much more valuable as a tourist attraction, and they get preserved and you learn more about them than it is as shark fin soup, for example. So in terms of sustainable travel, every single step of your journey in South Africa can be sustainable. You can go into food markets and benefit 3 different vendors with a family of 4. You can go making sure that you're buying directly from the producer, making sure you're employing someone directly, making sure that when you're going with a local guide, you are paying them directly, and making sure you're tipping. Just tip. South Africa is a very good value destination. Just showing the value of tourism is one of the things that makes, which makes communities appreciate tourism, and in turn, these things, new products will grow. Go into townships, but not necessarily to be driven around in a bus. Go and walk through the townships with a local guide. Go cycling through townships. Go into a local shebeen. Benefit local businesses. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants handouts. People want to see economic empowerment, and between conservation and communities in South Africa, everything that you do can benefit the country and in a sustainable way. And empowerment and transformation is very much part of our agenda. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that from us.
Fantastic, thank you. And what about new tourism product? That could be new accommodation, new activities, new attractions that launched in 2021 or that is due to launch in 2022. What have you got to tell agents about that's new?
Well, with a country the size of South Africa, things are they're changing all the time, and the pandemic has led people to diversify. Not just from the big kind of infrastructure projects. You've got the Skywalk, got at God's Window, which is a glass walkway out over the viewpoint and kind of quite spectacular. These things, they're popping up around the world, and one of that's the kind of investment that works really well. But then also you've got the world's longest zip line. K3 has opened outside of Cape Town. You've got a lot of products investing in stuff like e-bikes, taking people around on the fat bikes as well, investing in that kind of product. So not necessarily introducing massive new product, but just kind of diversifying what they're offering. So you'll see a lot of properties bringing in camping pods and glamping experiences. And, Bosch and Dell have got an outdoor cinema that they are opening. So it's all of these tiny little tweaks that are just kind of heightening the experiences and kind of conforming to social distancing and things like that, and showcasing the offering of South Africa a lot more. So there is quite a lot. Can't list half of it, even a quarter of it here, but do keep following us and find out more. We will be posting.
Great, thanks. I mean, there's a big ask, isn't it? And what's new in an entire country? There we go. Thank you for a brief overview. Moving on to agent support, I just wanted to ask about the main challenges facing agents when they're selling South Africa. What are they, and how can they be overcome?
I think we can be quite honest in terms of some of the things that agents are going to get asked. A lot of people will first of all say, "Is it safe?" Which is a very, very it's a very decent question that you're going to get asked by a lot of people who are inquiring about South Africa. The way that you kind of manage that is going to make sure you get the booking or not. We always use facts and figures and say, look, tourists are generally safe in South Africa. The FCO says, 430,000 people used to visit from the UK during the pandemic, before the pandemic, and most of those were incident free. You wouldn't be able to hire cars at the cost that they are. You wouldn't be able to get insurance. You wouldn't be able to. There wouldn't be the product offering if it was unsafe for tourists. It would be really irresponsible for us to promote anything that was unsafe, and it'd be really, really irresponsible for tour operators to sell anything that was unsafe. So that's something that you can rest assured. The law of probability show that, in terms of advice that you can give clients, don't drive at night. Just drive, know where you're going, have GPS. Take any precautions you would in any city when you're walking around and things like that, and you're going to be fine. And there's plenty of places that are the same, and you just wouldn't, you just give the same advice that you'd give yourself going into a city centre in London, for example. You've also got, there's been things in the news, obviously, the COVID pandemic, and there's always like some kind of story going on in South Africa, and it's knowing the context of that around the tourism story. And generally it's quite far away from where the tourists would generally be. And that's why that's why hotels are where they are, that's why lodges are where they are. And really, as long as you are going and you are benefiting local communities, the only way that you're going to help a country is by benefiting it, not by staying away. So the way that things get better is you showcase how much tourism benefits local people, benefits local communities, is inclusive, and sharing culture and sharing diverse opinions, diverse backgrounds, etc. That's the way in which things can benefit South Africa. So yeah, I mean, we know that some of the challenges are they're quite entrenched, but to be honest with you, people who really have those beliefs aren't inquiring to go to South Africa. But it's the people who do want to go. They just need reassuring, and you're the people who we rely on the trade to do that, and we really love the fact that the trade have our the trade supporters in this as well. So thank you. If you ever have any concerns or anything that you need to overcome, please do get in touch with the trade team. We're happy to have a phone call and have a chat with you about stuff.
Cool, thank you. My next question is about marketing advice. So I guess that is a great marketing tip that you given just there about customer reassurance. Did you have any other marketing tips to add to that?
In terms of marketing advice, use our images. Come to us. We've got image libraries. Use our website. look out for special offers across all the B2B. So promoting the fact that and using practical advice as well, like the post office report showing that Cape Town is one of the cheapest cities in the world for British tourists to visit, using taking obviously the pound, obviously not as good value as it used to be in a lot of the world, but in South Africa it's pretty much remained around 20 rand, and you'll get a glass of wine for 32 rand approximately. So it's kind of keeping across that kind of thing, using our images, using our social posts. We've got heaps of videos that you can post onto your socials that are just branded with us, so you guys can white label them. You can take our images and you can overlay them with your own branding, and things like that. So that's the kind of thing that you promote in terms of South Africa, and go with the heroes. Cape Town, everyone knows Cape Town, everyone loves it. And my biggest piece of marketing advice is do training with us. If you're confident in selling South Africa, then whatever you market will be backed up with that confidence. And that's ultimately the way that you're going to get bums on seats down South Africa and, help out the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that you are planning an agent fam trip in the coming months, which is very, very exciting. Are you happy to share some information about that with agents today?
I can share a bit of information. So we've got 2 seats up for grabs in the competition with TTG. We are going at the end of February. It's to celebrate the Cape Town direct flight. So we will be flying down into Cape Town, spending a few days in Cape Town, showing you the lesser known. So you might not be going to Robben Island, you might not be going to the V&A, but we're going to get you into the heart of Cape Town. And we're really going to showcase the sustainability angle of the trips and really give you a rewarding experience. We're also probably going to go out to the Winelands, which is one of my favourite places in South Africa, and then a bit further afield. But in terms of the way that a tourist board will run fan trips as opposed to maybe an operator, so we're not going to make you do many site inspections. We're not going to it's going to be all about experiencing the destination and giving you the confidence to sell it, and also to share your experience with your colleagues and all of the travel industry, and help build that confidence of South Africa. So yeah, I don't have any more the minute details, but it will be showcasing Cape Town and the Western Cape.
Fantastic, thank you. And to all our viewers, you can enter that competition for the chance to win one of those 2 spots at ttgmedia.com/competitions. So before we wrap up, Rachel, is there anything else that agents should know about selling South Africa right now?
It's summer in South Africa right now, and it's hot. It was -2 degrees this morning out here, and it was getting dark at 3 o'clock. In South Africa at the moment, we're into our summer season. It's going to be lovely, blue skies. That in Cape Town, you get that cool Atlantic breeze. So anything that you've got, if you've got people looking to go away between now and between now and early next year, South Africa is going to be absolutely amazing. Take advantage of those direct flights. Get on that Virgin Cape Town flight. Fill that up so it comes back next year. And just sell it with confidence, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. 67% of people who land in South Africa have been there before, so it is an investment. If you get confident selling South Africa and you sell it to somebody, they're going to come back and book through you again. So that is probably my best piece of advice I can give.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rachel, for sharing all your insight and tips and advice today. It's been great having you on here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you also to all of our viewers for tuning in to learn about South Africa. You can also check out the Training Hub on ttgmedia.com for more educational content across the industry. So thanks again, Rachel. Thanks again, viewers, and take care.